So welcome to a new video. We're going to talk about how to finance your new business. This is from my 20 years experience in organizing and arranging finance for businesses. Welcome to the video. So how do you raise finance, or how do you go about getting the money together to set up your new business? I've been providing finance for businesses for the last 20 years. I'm in the industry. I have a FCA license. So hopefully what I tell you will be a good, sound advice. I've made some notes here, so if I look down, I'm just checking to make sure we've covered everything, because there are a few different areas where you can seek finance, and some of them you may not have heard of before. So let's jump straight in and talk about the first most important thing is you need to decide between finance or investor finance. So that's sort of finance would be going to borrow the money, or investor finance would be to take money from someone who would have a vested interest in your business. The reason I mention that up front very quickly is because the two are very different, and you really need to work out, do you want to give away part of your business further down the line when you've grown it to a certain size and it's worth a lot of money, or would you rather take the money from a straightforward form of financing and have the risk on yourself of repaying that money, but the business is yours and no one can come back at a late stage and take the business from you? So you may have seen on Dragon's Den, a lot of the time there are quite a few businesses on there that have won the pitches for investment, but have at a late stage turned down the investment because they didn't want to give the Dragon a big share of their company. So that's to get out of the way first, something to consider and something to really think about. So let's get on to the first part, which is loans, or a very straightforward way of borrowing money. So you go to a bank and you say, I want to borrow some money because I'm setting up a business and I need the money to grow my business. They might say, well, right, okay, that's fair enough. You need to go away and come back and to let us know exactly how you are going to spend that money. So is it going to be on marketing? Is it going to be on sales? Is it going to be advertising? Do you need a warehouse? Do you need infrastructure? What do you need the money for? They'll want to know that initially. They'll also want a business plan. They will probably also ask you for bank statements and a credit search to determine if you're good at managing your money. Some banks may come back and say, we can lend you the money, but we want to charge on that business. So what that means is that if anything goes wrong, we will come in and we will sell off the business assets to recover our debt. They may also ask you for security over a property or an asset. So that means the bank will take a charge on your house. What that will mean is that if you default on the loan, the bank will say you need to sell that property, and we've got first recourse to our debt. So you'll have to sell your property. We want the money back. So that's important. There are also other loan providers out there. If you search for business loans, there are other loan providers out there that will do similar things, especially for new companies. So for your new business, it's very unlikely that a lender will lend you some money without some form of security. That can be security on assets. It can be what they call a director's guarantee. So the director's guarantee will mean that you sign a piece of paper called a guarantee, and you will say to the bank, if anything goes wrong, you will come to me personally and I will organise for the money to be repaid to you by selling off my personal assets. So usually it's quite difficult for banks to do, because they'll have to pursue in court, and the court could say, well, we think that making this person homeless is unethical and therefore the guarantee is unenforceable. So that can happen. So that's the first part of raising money for your business is in loans. And loans would be the most common way of borrowing money to grow your business. And now I'm going to talk about some other unconventional ways which you might not have heard of, which could be quite useful for you. Okay, so now let's jump to our third method of finance, and that is asking family and friends. So you could go to your family and say, look, we need to borrow some money to get the business going. Can you help out? And I know it sounds silly me mentioning this because it seems quite obvious, but lots of people don't do it. And you may find that somebody is sitting on a huge pot of money and they've got nothing to do with that money. They may not be earning much money, interest on that money in the bank, and will therefore be quite happy to lend you the money. So that brings me on to our next subject, which is crowdfunding. So there are platforms now that will allow you to put your business online and to market that business to raise money by selling shares in that business for capital. So there's a website called Crowdcube, which you may have heard of, that it's very popular, especially in the brewing industry. So the brewing industry, lots of people think it's cool to own shares in a brewery. And hey, why not? So they'll put money in, and in some cases they'll raise more money than they actually need. Crowdfunding platforms. We have our last method of financing a business, and that's with investors. So a little bit linked into the previous topic of Crowdcube. This one would be specifically for one investor who you want to approach and ask to invest in your business. Where do you find investors? Well, think about where would an investor hang out? Where would somebody who's made some money from selling other companies go to? Would they go to a members club maybe? Would they go to an event whereby people would come and pitch their business ideas? Maybe you could join the members side of the event club so that you would talk to other investors, but you wouldn't go and do a pitch. That might be a way of meeting these investors who've got money to put into the business. Social media is another big area where people will watch what you're doing, and they'll look at how successful the business is. And they might approach you and say, look, I've got some money to invest. It's doing nothing at the moment. I want to put that money into your business and I want a return on the money. But just be very aware that when you're working with investors, you have to follow certain procedures for the FCA. And you also have to think about, do I want that person to have a share of my business when I come to selling that business on? And I've seen some cases where other people have come out quite badly, even though things initially seem to be all okay. One other thing I'd recommend is that you will need to make sure you get every single thing documented and every single thing written down as to what you do, who puts the money in, when the money can be taken out, what you do in the business, what percentage of shares you have in that company. You need to get this nailed down. I've seen instances where people have really been burnt badly. So just make sure it's documented, and then you know where you are from the start. So I hope that video has been useful to you. Please give it a like if you found the information useful, or make a comment if you I'm not sure of anything I've said and you need advice, or you want to contact me about where do I go for a loan, where do I go for asset finance. I can help with that if you need help. So good luck with your business, and see you in the next video.